more options. Okay, so we are recording now. Let's go ahead and, like I said, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, so let me start and then we can go.
Yeah.
And yes. Good evening, my fellow members, honorable guests, Director IMSD, Jim Fan, and Mike Bretman, who has just retired after 20 years of service from the CGSC. I welcome you here at our annual sponsor briefing, especially our new sponsors. I have been sponsoring for the last 12 years, and the journey is so beautiful. Once you get in, it gets addictive. There are some of our members who have been sponsoring for 30 to 40 years. This year, the journey might be a little different than usual, but I hope you understand because the whole world is in the same boat. I strongly believe that we will get through COVID-19 as a stronger nation. I will not take most of your time because you must be waiting for Jim Fan. I will take a few minutes to say thanks to our friend, mentor, and great citizen ambassador, Mr. Mike Bretman, for his 20 years excellent service with U.S. Army Man and General Staff College. I have known Mike for the last 12 years. I always saw him with smile and open to help. He helped me. He helped hundreds of sponsors and thousands of international military students during his 20 years of service. We wanted to host him a big party, but couldn't do it even in person. On behalf of the GKC-PTP, I want to say thank you, Mike. I don't know if you heard about the new feature Zoom introduced. I'm going to try it now. On behalf of the GKC-PTP, in recognition of service, I am going to present Mike a flag and a Visa gift card, a token of thanks from our members. I'm here in Leawood, and Mike is in Fort Leavenworth?
Out in county, in an undisclosed location there, Zaid.
Okay, here you go. I am going to present you. Can you receive it?
That's great technology you got there, Zaid. And the world is still turning, no matter what sickness we have, all right? So that's great.
Yes,
so,
thank you so much. And Mike, it's if you want to say something, you're open.
Yeah, I just take a minute here and say thank you to the People to People organization for the beautiful gifts that you gave me. Certainly wasn't required. My gift was to associate with you over the years and in that common goal of taking care of our officers. And especially in this crazy world that we find ourselves in now, those relationships that you have all built over the years, those are what are carrying us through around the world. Those people are concerned about you here, and you're concerned about them, and that's what it's all about, making it one big world and trying to breach those misunderstandings, knowing that they have friends and that treated them like family for that year. I certainly experienced that in some of my tours overseas where people just adopted me and made me feel at home, and that makes all the difference. That will be even more crucial this year with the officers that are coming by themselves and to a totally unknown situation. So I know everybody will take care of them, and we're very happy to join you this year. We'll be sponsoring the Bangladeshi officer with John and Fiona, Rochelle, and Lieutenant Colonel Dill, and we're looking forward to that. That'll be our first official sponsor year, you know, so Thank you for all the cooperation. Thank you for all the kindness you guys have shown my family over the years. I think Jamie was the IMSD baby, you know, that for the last 11 years, everybody has kind of watched her grow. And then you said, well, I'm getting older because she's getting bigger very quickly, you know. So again, just a big thank you to everybody. We hope to sponsor with as many of you as possible in the coming years. And if you never need any type of assistance, then I'm always here. We're not moving out of the area, and we'll be happy to join you. That's all, folks.
Thank you so much. So now I will hand over to Sharon. Sharon, you can start.
Okay, thanks. Let's go ahead, and I am not going to cover too many slides because I don't know that we have any new sponsors on with us right now. So I'm not going to cover the history because you all know the history already. And I actually am probably going to scroll through here and then come back to it after Jim does his presentation, because he will fill in the blanks on a lot of stuff that I have. So let me get to the current things. Yep, I think Jim is going to cover this. We're talking here about airport pickups, about dependents, about events, and then some other schedule. So I'm actually going to, and then I've got a couple of slides on the LAC applications. So I'm gonna actually turn it over to Jim, because he'll have more details, and then if there's anything that I have here that he doesn't cover, then we'll come back to it. Well, let me stop sharing.
And you can give Jim as a host.
Okay. Let's see.
Sharon, did you have my slides that I sent earlier?
I do.
Okay, good.
Do you want me to use those?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, you want me to just share then, or do you?
Yeah, if you can just drive the slideshow, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me get back to sharing here. Just a moment. Make my screen a little bit smaller. Okay. Well, it's back on. There we go. Can you guys see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, if you can go ahead and advance. I don't know. I can just talk from these. So thanks, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to get together with you. And I understand the reason for doing this as we're doing it. So let me just start off by saying that, and everyone has kind of touched on this, but this is going to be a year like no other in anyone's institutional memory anyway. So maybe in 1918 they were having this kind of a issue, but it's been a long, long time since anybody who currently is associated with the program has seen anything like this. So we're in a very fluid situation. I would just share with you, I was on the phone a good bit of the day today in Army level discussions. The Army War College Internationals began reporting yesterday, and they already have 2 positive cases. of COVID-19 from the international class that's come in. They're having significant issues with other officers who are not able to fly in, and the wheels are coming off, quite frankly. So we don't know what this is ultimately going to look like. We're right now down to 46 students. We lost 2 countries, Turkey and Bulgaria, and there are several other countries that are having visa issues and travel issues. And there will come a point that if we cannot get these folks here at the report date, that we're probably going to have to pull the plug because the installation just does not have the resources to run the type of reception and quarantine that would allow for multiple points of entry for officers over the course of the year. I think the decision to delay dependents joining is proving to be a wise decision. There's a lot of discussion now. I should also mention that the SAMS course has only been in session 1 week. They are back now to virtual classes because the SAMS instructor was positive, came up positive yesterday evening. So frankly, we don't know what this is going to look like in terms of final numbers and makeup of the class when everybody eventually does get here. But we are continuing now to press forward with a report on the 24th of July. And that report date would then be the start of a 14-day self-isolation on post in the Army Hotel on Fort Leavenworth for all of the officers. I briefed the Leavenworth sponsors last week, and I am planning to brief the Fort Leavenworth sponsors early next week in what will probably be a Zoom briefing because currently there is no venue on Fort Leavenworth that's approved for more than 30 people to be in at one time. Even Eisenhower Auditorium, you cannot have more than 30 people in there. So right now, conditions are very restrictive. And again, like I said, it's very fluid. So the plan right now will be for all the officers to report on the 24th. There are, and if you are in contact with a student that tells you that they're coming in a little early, there are some students that are flying into country a little bit earlier than the 24th in order to be in the country so that they can make it to Kansas City on the 24th. There are reports of some officers arriving late on the night of the 23rd. Anyone that reports into the country early will be on their own at an airport hotel or whatever until such time as they fly into Kansas City or drive into Kansas City for the handful of students that we believe are coming by POV on the 24th. There is no option for early report. And all of the officers that I'm aware of that are coming early are all cognizant of that, and they're all aware of that requirement. If you're discussing this with them, that's fine. I would not make any plans for any physical contact with your student until the morning of 8 August. If conditions are better and restrictions on movement change and we can allow those connections to start a little earlier, we'll let you know. But right now the plan is on the 8th of August when the students come out of quarantine, they're going to enter into a period that we're referring to as community integration. And it will be that time that sponsors will be able to actually make contact with the officer. It will be during that period of time when the students will move into their permanent housing solution, whether it be a house on post and a house off post, an extended stay apartment, etc. Right now, we do not have any social events planned for icebreakers for sponsors. In fact, we have tentatively planned an icebreaker for the students, but again, unless the conditions change, we won't be able to hold that as currently planned. No plan for a registration day. We're going to be doing a lot of things in processing, registration, etc. Much of that stuff is going to have to be done virtually. Now, I would tell you, if any of you are interested in connecting with your other sponsors and discussing having a care package or some type of little welcome basket put together, we are right now, I've been in meetings with the management of Hogue Barracks, and we anticipate having access ahead of time to those rooms, and we will be able to facilitate pre-positioning things in the room. I would encourage you, if you're going to do something, please have, don't have any homemade food items or anything like that. We're not sure how long in advance we'll have to pre-position that stuff. So, homemade cookies, cakes, things like that end up being in there for, more than 24 hours or whatever, could end up being not too good when the officer actually shows up. So fruits that have a long shelf life, or any kind of nuts and snacks and bottled water, etc., probably all good items. But anything more exotic than that is probably not going to be the best. So what questions does anyone have that I might be able to assist with at this point?
Jim, when you said that some countries have fallen off, Turkey was one of them you mentioned. Is that for the year? We're supposed to be sponsoring the Turkish student, and we haven't received any information to that regard.
Yeah, so Turkey completely canceled their participation, so they will not send a student this year. It's not just it's not just the individual isn't coming. Turkey is not sending a student.
Okay. Okay.
And we just learned of that today, so that's why you hadn't gotten notice yet.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, and things are changing. Like I said, this is going to be fluid right up until the day, right up until the 24th. It's not going to surprise me that we don't have a final number until we have a final number.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
Eric.
go ahead. Go ahead.
If we want to do a care package, how do we get it to them?
We will, if you make contact with us, you have my contact information. We'll work it out. We'll get it. If you can bring it up, we'll take it to IMSD and we'll get it into the rooms. We're going to be pre-positioning computers and book issue and all kinds of things in their rooms. So we can do that as part of our logistics effort to put the stuff we're putting in the rooms, Eric.
Okay.
So Jim, you want them to bring it to IMSD?
Yes, unless they're going to bring it on the day, if they're going to bring it. But again, I would recommend against that. I have a meeting on Friday to work through how we're actually going to physically process the officers. We have Secretary of Defense level guidance and what we have to do in transporting them from the airport, doing initial checks, screening them. It's just not going to be feasible for sponsors to even, get a quick hello in. I know some of you are probably desperate to do that, but it's just not going to be feasible. So I'd recommend bringing it up the day prior. And then our plan is to put everything in the rooms the night of the 23rd. So that's our plan, is to have everything pre-positioned in the rooms the evening of the 23rd. So anytime prior to that, we're working pretty much every day. So there's no break for us on the immediate horizon. Any other questions? I know, we've been updating email addresses as they come in, and we will continue to do that. My hope is by Tuesday of next week that we'll actually have some type of reliable contact information on every one of the officers. I can share with you that 23 of the 46 already have an assigned address for a house on post. So if you're in communication with your officer and they're one of the officers that applied to live on post, they are assured, excuse me, they are assured of an address on post, assuming they're willing to accept that house. If they get here and for some reason change their mind, then we'll have to rethink where they're ultimately going to stay. But right now, all of the officers who applied for houses got houses. So any other questions? You're certainly not, you're not limited to this meeting. If you think of something after we sign off or in the coming days that you need an answer to, please filter it up through Sharon or reach out to me directly. I don't mind. I'll do my best to answer. But since oftentimes the questions are something that others would benefit from too, if you get it to Sharon, she can probably share it to the larger group. And go ahead, please.
This is Barbara Dulce. Will our LAC cards allow us entry into the post? They have not for a while.
Well, if you have a LAC that's active right now, you can come on the fort. They are, I mean, I would encourage you. So, I mean, if you're coming up for a specific reason, like you want to drop off your basket or your goodies, you should have no problem. Those LACs are not shut off. They have just encouraged those who don't have a specific official reason to be on post to not come on post. But I think, you know, if you're bringing up stuff that you plan to pre-position for your student, that's a legitimate reason. And as long as your LAC is active, you should be able to get in, no problem.
So, Jim, the fact that we didn't get packets tonight with the names of our co-sponsors, will we be mailed that packet?
Yes, we'll be sending that out in the mail. We've got the letters ready and a culture sheet or a profile sheet on each country. So Karen Haber actually is going to be mailing those.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would share with you just quickly. So the Army has not renewed its relationship with the Culturegram company. So we don't have access to Culturegrams this year. But what we're encouraging folks to do is utilize the resources that are available in the CIA World Factbook online. It's actually quite good. Every country that I know of, with the exception of Jordan, for some reason that escapes me, has a one-page summary sheet on there, and then they also have very in-depth cultural demographic information, all the stuff that you would typically find in the Culturegram and more is available online at the CIA World Factbook. So if you just Google World Factbook, you can find both the one-page summaries for your country as well as the more in-depth report. So it's again, we don't have the Culturegrams. I apologize for that, but there is a resource, and I'd encourage you to tap into it.
Tim, I
Did
have
you say?
Okay, go ahead.
Did you say for us to take, if we have a care package, to take it to the hotel or to your office?
Yeah, I would. The preference would be bring it up and bring it to our office. So if you just let us know that you're coming, we'll link up with you, and then we will then deliver that stuff in conjunction with all the items that we're pre-positioning in the rooms.
Jim, back.
Jim, I have a question. Yesterday, the president ordered that all those students, all those universities or institutions who are going to do classes online, the students have to go back to their country. Does that apply to military students or just to the civilian students?
Well, first of all, I apologize. I'm not familiar with the specifics of that pronouncement, so I'll have to look into it a little bit. But our students are all going to be those who can travel and are otherwise healthy and make it through the checks to get here will be received here. What we don't know at this point is whether or not we're actually going to physically go into the classroom setting or whether or not this is going to end up being a virtual environment. Without going into too much detail that really isn't applicable to our efforts, there are a number of courses, to include some general officer professional development courses, that get taught at Fort Leavenworth. And typically, the resources in the Lewis and Clark Center are sufficient to share. But because of social distancing and a number of other things associated with the air handling capabilities of the HVAC system, et cetera, we are greatly reduced in the number of people we can have in the building at any one time. So we have some competing requirements currently that are going to impact, and there's even some discussion of perhaps going to a shift type schedule where CGSC, half of the class may be in classes in the morning, the other half may be in classes in the afternoon. There may be a mixture of online learning and in-class learning. Similarly for the schools, the actual public schools, they're talking about every other day or some type of rotation or distance learning. So, again, it's just it's unlike anything any of us have ever experienced or even contemplated. And so it's going to be a very challenging year. And the academics for the course have only gotten tougher. We lost 5 instructional weeks because of the delay in the start of the course. So your students from the start of the class on the 8th of September, right up until the winter break, are going to be in class almost every day for 6+ hours, which is not the model that the college wants to use. We typically like to use a 4-hour, no more than 4 hours a day in the classroom, and that model is not going to be sustainable given the current conditions. And this is probably going to lead, a final decision hasn't been made, but in all likelihood, we will probably suspend the Know Your World presentations this year because we just don't have the hours in the day for the students to do these preparations and presentations. And if we're not allowed to have more than 30 or 40 people in the auditorium, it doesn't make any sense. So we are going to endeavor, though, every one of the students does do a country presentation. So I'm working with the college to see if we can record those. They're not quite as extensive as the Know Your World presentation, but they're nevertheless interesting and informative. And if we can record those and then share those out with the sponsors, we will plan to do that.
I have another question similar to this. Know Your World, you said that there will be no Know Your World, but we do like Circle of Knowledge event. If we do Circle of Knowledge on Zoom and our participants come on Zoom and the officer stays at his residence and can do that?
I have no objection to that. Again, the one caveat I would add is I think that the officers are going to be stressed more so than we've ever seen in the past, just with the academic requirements. This year will be the first year where a master's degree is going to be an embedded part of CGSOC. In previous classes, if a student wanted to get a master's degree, they took the core coursework and then they did additional coursework and additional research for a master's. They have changed the academic standards and expectations of the basic course now, that every student will be required to do the work for a master's. So that's multiple 12 to 14 page papers. It's significantly more work. So my concern, again, there are some incredibly talented officers that are not going to be overly challenged by that, and they may be more than willing to participate in that program that you guys have hosted. And we will certainly advertise that, and those who are would be welcome to do it. I'm just trying to manage expectations a little bit at this point.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jim, back to the LACs, if for new sponsors or for anyone who's got an expired LAC, is the VCC processing anything yet?
Yeah, I apologize. You got my note that I asked you to send me the Zoom on my civilian email. About 2 hours before work ended today, the entire email system went down. So I had just responded to your email to tell you that we are now, again, we've started processing LAC applications. So if you have LAC applications for your new sponsors or for any of your sponsors with expired LACs, you can start sending those to Mr. Madsen and Mr. Typia and Sean and Robert, and we will process those. Yeah, that note to you is hung up in my outbox.
Okay. Thank you.
I have another question, Jim.
Please.
Since Mike Bretman is working with us now as a sponsor, so who will be working in Mike Bretman's place?
We have a hiring action that's ongoing. You know, I'd like to tell you that everything goes really smoothly, but our civilian personnel office puts the fun in dysfunctional. So we hope to have Mike's replacement on board around the 19th of this month. So around 19 July. And I'm not at liberty to announce a name until that individual is actually officially on board. But we do have a terrific individual, someone who's got experience with the program in the past. Very much Mike has mentored this individual significantly. He really understands the direction that of the program that Mike built, and we're on the same sheet of music in terms of how it should progress. So I think to the extent that it's possible for anyone to pick up where Mike left off, we have the best guy to do that. So you know, we'll stumble here at the start out of the starting blocks a little bit and get going, but once things start to get normal, and your relationship with him will be very good. He'll work very well with the sponsor organizations, and I think it'll be a good hire. We just have to get there.
Mike, do you want me to advance any of the slides or go to any?
Well, if you want to go through them, I don't know how many more of them were actually built on content I sent, but if you go ahead and go and see if there's anything else that jumps out.
Okay.
While you're doing that, this is Pat Friesen. A question. The Kansas City sponsor, and so many of these social things are now gone. What is our role with our officers this year?
Well, I would say, you know, the role is unchanged. Quite frankly, the scope of what you're going to be able to do is going to be impacted. I mean, the expectations are the same. We still love, I use the word aspirational in my other briefings to the other sponsor group. You know, I think you should still aspire to do the things you've tried to do in the past. And then as the conditions permit, you actually do those. So invitations of the officer to either come to your home or accompany you on those activities that you like to do as a family. Be they holiday get-togethers, etc. Those things you're unconstrained, frankly, in what you propose to do with your officer. again, just keeping in mind, whatever the restrictions of the day may be at that time. For us, for example, our officers will not be able to, unless there's a change, once they're here and once they've gone through the 14-day quarantine, they can't go more than 180 miles from the fort without violating the restrictions on movement, and then being forced back into another 14 days of quarantine, even if they're not symptomatic. So the good news is you all live a lot closer than 180 miles from the fort. So, invitations to your home or going on social outings that are within the kind of the norms of what we're allowed to do under the various restrictions are all still viable things.
I was gonna
Sharon, I don't know if the slides are frozen, but they're not advancing. So.
Oh, they're not?
No.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, gosh. I went through the whole slide deck while you were talking.
Oh,
No,
no, it's still
you
on
weren't.
the same slide.
Interesting. How about now?
No.
Okay, let me stop sharing and reshare.
Sharon, I don't think you were in the show mode. You were just editing. You can go through one at a time. Otherwise, put yourself back into the show mode.
Okay.
Well, those are actually my slides.
Right.
That, and we can, if you can page through those, you can, but I mean, largely you extracted most of what I was, there's nothing there that everyone's not familiar with.
Yeah.
So I just keep going.
Jim,
There's my word, aspirational.
there you go. Jim, as you're reading, this is Don Fusen. You mentioned something about the War College. Is the travel across all military installations just confused and flummoxed right now, and you don't really know what's going to actually get off the ground at all? So even though you're giving us some good, strong guidelines for this year, those are today's, and you may change that next week.
Correct. I mean, all bets could be off. If wave 2 is full blown in 10 days, all bets could be off. So,
thank you, Jim.
Yes.
Do you anticipate them buying any cars or those kinds of things like many of the officers do?
Yeah, I mean, there will be some officers that purchase cars. The Western Europeaners and the guys that typically have plenty of money are going to be they're gonna get cars, and their spouses will drive, and it won't. I don't anticipate again outwardly there to be that much difference. It's just going to be, right now, I still have 2 cars. I just don't have any place I can take them, So I think that will be the same for many of these officers. Obviously, we're going to have a much higher percentage of the overall international class living on post than we've had in the past. I mean, with nearly half of them already signed up for living on post, that's huge. So those that live on post, several of them have asked about whether or not they can get by without a car. And if they live on post and they're not afraid of a little bit of walking or riding a bike, they can easily function on the installation without a vehicle. And I've recommended some do that. And then if they want a car, they can just rent a car for if we get to a point where they can start taking vacations and go to St. Louis and go to Dallas and places like that, then they can rent a car to do that. Yeah, okay, so this timeline slide, if everybody can see the timeline slide, this will kind of walk you through what our plan is for the summer. So again, they're going to be in quarantine for the 24th of July until the 7th of August. Then about 35 of them will have to take an English language test. Now, this is not typical because typically our students would have gone to language preparation training in Texas, and they would have certified as having met our minimum English language requirements before they get here. Having not been afforded that opportunity, they're going to come here and we're going to test them the day they come out of quarantine. And those that do not pass the test will be given a 24 hours through study, and then 48 hours after the test, they'll be tested again. And if they still don't pass the test, they're going to be sent home. So that's another reason for us to defer dependent accompaniment in this case, because it would just be horrible to be here with a wife and 3 kids and go through 14 days of quarantine and then take a test and 2 days later be told, I'm sorry, you're not going to be admitted into the course and you have to go home. But I would just tell you, as harsh as that may sound, it is torturous to put these officers through the academic ringer of this course if they can't function in the English language. It's just not, it's just, frankly, it's not, it's inhumane. I have watched some of these officers come and just struggle. And honestly, I don't think that ultimately we end up building the type of positive picture of the United States that we hope to if we basically torture the guy for the whole year. That period of 8 to 13 August that's referred to as community integration, that is and again, assuming we have restrictions on movement that permit it, that is the really good target for sponsors to make contact with the officer, assist with their transition from their temporary lodging into their permanent lodging, kind of help them find their feet in the area, and then be ready to go. And then you can just kind of follow along and see the other things that we have planned. We're hoping to do our city government day, our state government day. But again, we're just not sure whether or not we're going to be able to pull it off. There will be a flag ceremony. Right now, the plan for the flag ceremony is for the officers to conduct a live ceremony. However, there will be no audience. It will be a live ceremony in the Eisenhower Auditorium, and then it will be broadcast over the internal Command and Drill Staff College television network to their U.S. students who will be in the classrooms, and then in all likelihood, it will be hosted as a Facebook Live event on the Army University Facebook page, similar to what was done with the badge ceremony and graduation. So are there any other questions that I can address at this time?
I have a question really for Sharon. For those of us who have an expired LAC pass, isn't there some kind of form we need to fill out, and how do we get it?
I can email it to you, yes. I believe the form is,
Schmidt.
Sure. The form is not changed to my knowledge. The form is the same as it was last year. So I'll send you that, and you can just fill it out and send it back either to myself or Pat Burnett, and then we'll send it off to the fort for processing.
Okay.
Sharon, is that also not on the GKC PTP website?
It is. Yeah, the form is also on our website.
We'll look for it.
Okay. Let me know if you don't find it there, Eric, and I'll send it to you.
Okay. And will there be an address that we can send it to?
Yeah, to my email address. It should be also on the website, but I'll if it's not there, then I can get in touch with you after this call just to make sure you have my correct email.
Okay. And is the processing place open every day?
Yeah.
It is not. So the VCC is not open every day. It has restricted hours. It's open Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 4, and then I'll get back with Sharon on the Saturday hours. They're reduced. I believe there's something in the 10 to 1, and then they haven't been opening on Sundays. So they are on limited hours. But I'll push that. I'll confirm all that and give it to Sharon, and that way you know. And Sharon's free. You're free to share these slides with the membership if you wish.
Okay.
And you know, like I said, as people think through and come up with additional questions, forward them to you or shoot them to me, and I'll do my best to get a good answer back to you.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just gonna check mine to be sure there wasn't anything else that I had.
Okay.
Okay, so can you guys see the screen or see my slides now? Okay, let's just take a quick look. I think we already covered all of this. And still in the September timeframe is currently the plan to make a decision on dependents?
That's right. So again, if conditions permit, my expectation is we'll start allowing dependents to join around the first part of September. You know, and by that time, schools will either be open or we'll know what the plan is, and then that'll help people make their decision.
Okay. And then let's see, Jim already covered this, to focus on that community integration period. We talked about all these other bullets already, the flag ceremony and also the pace of the course. And then my other two slides here are on the LAC. So these are the instructions, and we'll also have this out on our website, but essentially it's the same process as it has been. So fill out the form, send it to Pat or myself. We'll process it, and then when we get notice back from IMSD that the application has been approved, then we'll notify you. And you have 30 days from the time of the approval, not the time that we notify you, but 30 days from the time that it's been approved to go to VCC to get it picked up. And still we've tried to keep with that February. I assume that'll still be our plan, is to stick with a February rotation where GKC PTP will be asked to renew at that same time every year.
That would be great. That would be helpful. Hopefully in February, the coming year, will be, joyfully processing passes in support of a normal year ahead of us. So.
Yeah. Does anyone have questions?
I have a question. Is the finish date projected to be about the same that it was this year, like mid-June?
Yeah, so the end date for this course will be 18 June. So it's actually a little bit later. So they carved out an extra week, which will in itself present some challenges next year for the next class coming in. But so the course itself will run from 8 September till 18 June. So the badge ceremony would be on the 17th of June, graduation on 18 June.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Zahid or Jim or any other remarks or comments?
No, again, I just thank you for the chance to meet with you guys, and I'm looking forward to trying to make this as good a year as we can. And I know you'll all do the same. So thank you in advance for everything that you're going to do this year. And thanks for giving me a chance to see Mike Bretman.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for participating, and all the members, and thank you so much, Mike Bretman. We will have many years together ahead, and we will enjoy sponsoring, and who will do a lot of good things for the international officers.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a good-
everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night. Everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Sharon.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
So